In Alzheimer's disease, the brain is not getting as much glucose, so they call that a hypo or a reduction in metabolism of glucose. And as much as you and I are describing that scenario as relevant for Alzheimer's disease, you can essentially open up the book of neurological disorders and see the same thing. Depression has a brain glucose hypometabolism to it. Migraines have a brain glucose hypometabolism. Epilepsy and Parkinson's disease. So all of these disorders of the brain, of the central nervous system, the one thing they all have in common is the brain isn't getting enough energy from glucose. And another way of saying that is the one thing all of those seemingly unrelated brain problems have in common is that they all have some degree of insulin resistance. But then it's no surprise that they all benefit when ketones can swoop in to save the day. But that only can happen if the person is giving their body a break from the insulin long enough to actually start making ketones.
Really, really interesting on this point of Alzheimer's, because I don't think people have spent enough time talking about the link between insulin resistance and Alzheimer's. And one of the things I was looking at there was how many people with Alzheimer's meet the criteria for insulin resistance. And some studies have it at 40%. There's a study I found here that has it at 70 to 80%, which I wanted to cite. Exact percentages vary, but one example is a study in the Journal of Neurology in 2011 that found insulin resistance at approximately 40% of individuals with Alzheimer's. But another study in Alzheimer's patients sometimes found it to be as high as 70 or 80%. For instance, research by Dr. Suzanne Dilamonte at Brown University has drawn attention to the concept of type 3 diabetes.
Yeah, again, I don't love the term, but I appreciate the use of it, which is, it does suggest a metabolic origin. But even you look at those ranges, Stephen, you'd say, well, one was 40, one was 80. Boy, what a difference. I suspect a lot of that is just how did they measure insulin resistance?
Right.
If they were looking at the glucose, like so many do, you're just going to miss a lot of people.
Yeah, it's quite hard I think there's different criteria, right, for how one defines someone as insulin resistant.
Well, yeah, and that's right. That's because there's not enough training, which is at the beginning of the conversation, you asked my mission. One of my missions is to help people learn what to look for.
What do they need to be looking for?
Yeah, they need to be looking at insulin. So
is that easy to measure?
Well, it is technically easy to measure. It's just that we don't have enough systems in place to enable it.